Gambia's Minister of Health confirms one new Aki case and many more other related suspected cases in the country. South Africa's poultry industry is heavily impacted by the lack of adequate electricity supply. And the Nigerian authorities are set to increase financial support for the country's family planning control program. These and more coming your way on The World Today. This is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now the deadly and notorious acute kidney injury commonly known as Aki that claimed the lives of over 70 children in the Gambia sometime last year reemerged in the country as announced by the country's Health Ministry. Now, the death of the over 70 innocent children linked to the consumption of certain syrups that were imported into the country from India left many families devastated after losing their babies. In its latest situational update, the health officials reported another new case of the deadly sickness in the country. Yahya Jammeh has the details in this report.
The death of over 70 innocent Gambian children linked to Aki crisis in July 2022 triggered dissenting reactions among the citizenry, including the affected families, the civil society and members of political class, with many whom condemning the government for its lack of commitment to address the issue since it was confirmed and reported by the World Health Organization (WHO). The latest situational Aki report dated 23rd January from the Ministry of Health, which indicates the existence of a new case of deadly sickness, could instigate more anger among Gambians. According to Ministry's report, there is a new confirmed case of the deadly sickness caused by the consumption of certain syrups. The report also reveals that there are 39 suspected cases of Aki and 6 probable cases. It further indicates that since the first case was reported in 2022, the total number of confirmed cases of Aki stands at 83 cases. 12 were discharged and the total number of deaths since is now at 71 cases. An earlier investigations into the Aki crisis in July 2022 revealed that at least 32 cases and 28 deaths were being recorded. A preliminary investigation was later conducted to ascertain the cause of the Aki outbreak linked to the consumption of paracetamol syrup into the country, which eventually caused the deaths of over 70 children. Consequently, these 4 syrups, namely promethazine oral syrup BP, cofexmalin baby cough syrup, Markov baby cough, and Maghrib cold syrup were banned from consumption and the market. A joint task force by the Ministry of Health and the Gambia Red Cross Society conducted a nationwide collection campaign of the mentioned syrup above. Considering the seriousness of the Aki crisis in the country, the National Assembly also held an extraordinary session over the matter and tasked its health committee to look into the Aki causes and come up with tangible recommendations. Some of the findings of the Health Committee of the National Assembly revealed that these syrups were indeed the causes of the deadly Aki and that maiden pharmaceuticals which manufactured these syrups were banned from importing anything of its brand into the country. These, among other issues, happened in the Gambia during the discovery of the deadly Aki. Despite all efforts and resources invested to get to the root cause of Aki outbreak in the country, there are still unanswered questions in some quarters related to the matter. The resurfacing of the acute kidney injury in the country could once again instigate fear among the public. However, the Ministry of Health is advising citizens to take sick children to the nearest health facility, while cautioning caregivers should only give medicines to children on the advice of health worker. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Moving on, the inadequate power supply in South Africa is now reeling on the country's poultry sector, leaving chicken suppliers worried about the situation. Now, the use of power generators by operators to provide electricity supply is further derailing their activities, and the cost of chicken also increasing. Now, the Rainbow Nation has been battling against prolonged electricity crisis. Here's more details of that in this report.
Chicken is the cheapest and most loved protein in South Africa. That may soon change as frequent power cuts make it harder and more expensive to produce. Supply to fast food restaurants in particular is being choked.
The problem is that we can't get them over the hurdle of being slaughtered and get into the supply chain. The chickens that we currently produce have been on the floor for too long. They've consumed more feed, they've grown bigger, and those portions are not the portions that the quick service restaurants would like.
The spillover effects reach far across the sector. Grudge spending on diesel-powered generators are eating into the bottom line for retail outlets like butchery chain OBC.
Sometimes you try and plan around certain stages, but other times it just catches you. All of a sudden you've gone up to stage 5. Now you haven't planned, but it's having an adverse effect on all our franchise business because people are having to invest more money in fuel to keep their stores running.
Consumption has dropped by at least 20,000 tons in the last 3 years as shoppers battle to cope with rising food costs. That could drop further with prices set to spike again.
We've also seen a material increase in price during the period 2021-2022, but that was caused by the increase in the price of maize and the increase in the price of soybean meal or feed. We have also calculated that load shedding is costing us 75 cents per kilogram. Now, the only way a producer can pay that is to recover that from the consumer.
Companies, meanwhile, are holding back on vital investment to grow industries and create jobs so desperately needed.
We've actually forsaken opportunities where we feel turnover might not justify the investment. And where before, where there was consistent power, you'd say, okay, it's worthwhile going in and building that business over a few months. Now we just rather walk away from it.
The poultry industry is looking at ways to mitigate the impact of load shedding, which includes investment in better technology and energy resources. The energy crisis has, however, sparked concerns over job losses and food security, not just in the poultry industry, but across the entire agricultural sector.
And from that report here in South Africa, next to Nigeria, where bank scamming is gaining momentum in the country amid cashless transactions, thus leaving bank consumers with a rewarding situation, according to statistics from the country's interbank settlement system. Fraud attempts increased to over 300% between 2019 and 2020 in the country. Now, some analysts attributed the malpractices to deficiencies in the technology industry and other related factors. Let's have more details of that in this report.
32-year-old Oluchukwu Gibson is one of the many victims of bank fraud in Nigeria. Her trouble began when her card got stuck in a malfunctioning ATM on a weekend. Before Oluchukwu could return on Monday to leave the card, her account was cleared of nearly 400,000 naira. Neither the bank nor the police could do anything to recover her money.
I was at home receiving alert. First of all, they transferred 150,000 before I noticed that my ATM was used to withdraw. The bank, they feel less concerned. They don't do anything. They couldn't tell me what happened to my money. Up to today, I couldn't see even my money, my ATM, everything is gone.
Oluchukwu is one of the many Nigerians that have fallen victims to fraudulent transactions in their bank accounts. According to data from the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, fraud attempts on mobile and web rose to 330% and 173% respectively between 2019 and 2020. Experts highlight technology gaps, disgruntled staff, and a weak judicial system as drivers of this trend.
There is a lot of mass exodus of bank workers, especially in the IT department. And everything going digital by the world, if you don't have the personnel to manage the digital unit of the banks, definitely there is going to be a failure in the system. The equipment our banks in Nigeria are using are obsolete. They need to make replacement.
The loose ends that we are here to fix is getting the perpetrators to pay for it. If you punish people who commit a crime, you are not only telling those people that what they've done is wrong, you are also sending a message that the system will always punish for this crime.
As attacks are becoming more sophisticated, banks are falling short of resolving failed transactions and complaints promptly. That's despite the central bank's directive to banks to resolve customers' complaints within 2 weeks.
Nigerian banks moving towards doing insurance against cyber crimes and cyber attacks. And in the case that a fraudulent transaction happens on a customer's bank account, and you do your investigation and you find out that it wasn't actually the customer, it was actually a fraudulent transaction, then what happens? Are you insured against that? Are you going to make a full refund? What's the process?
Experts suggest that Nigeria needs to leverage the multiple identity platforms in the country to track and prosecute fraud offenders and ramp up ICT financing to close the technology gaps and curtail bank frauds.
You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And from that report there in Nigeria, we now take a break and come back shortly.
Africa Global brings you exquisite yet affordable state-of-the-art commercial rental spaces available at Madiba Mall, located at Brewfoot Gardens Estate. These commercial spaces comes with facilities such as 24-hour security, standby backup generator, air-conditioned spaces, conference room, and personal cash power meters. If you are looking for a spacious and suitable business environment, look no further. Madiba Mall retail and commercial spaces are just what you need. Call us today and reserve a space. For more information, please call 733-3363 or 594-1053, or you can send an email to info@tafafricaglobal.com.
Welcome back. This is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And once again, many thanks for joining us, and let's now look at the rest of the stories. Now, 3 soldiers and 2 civilians that were said to be involved in the alleged coup plot against the Barra government were on Wednesday set free by the High Court after an amended indictment bill by the state did not include their names. Now, the 5 freed accused persons are Captain Ibrahim Balde, Mbara Toure, Bakarin Jai, Mustafa Chaju, and Sekou Gassama. Mariama Cham tells us more in this report.
It could be recalled that during the first hearing of the case to the High Court from the lower court, the state filed an adjournment in order to file a bill of indictment against accused persons. When the proceedings resumed for the second time on Wednesday, 25th January 2023, Counsel P. Gomez appears for the state, while lawyers L.S. Camara and the C. Mendy are representing the 1st, the 4th, 6th, and the 7th accused persons, while Dabo for the 5th accused person, A. Jajo for the 2nd accused, and J. Jobate for the 3rd accused persons, respectively. At this juncture, Counsel P. Gomez for the state asked the court for a 15-minute stand-down for them to amend the information they filed. Shortly after the proceedings resumed, State Counsel A. N. Yusuf said they would rely on the amendment bill, which the defense counsel argued that they were not served. Lawyer L.S. Camara, the defense counsel for the 4th, 6th, and 7th accused, then indicates that hence the state relied on the amended information, which does not include Captain Ibrahim Balde, Mbara Toure, Bakarin Jai, Mustafa and Sekou Gassama. They should be struck out of the proceedings and be set free. The request from the defense counsel L.S. Camara was not objected to by other defense counsels. Justice Mahoney then opted to strike out the old indictment and accepted the amendment, which does not include the names of the accused person above, thereby setting them free. Now, the new amendment indictment file includes Sanafade, the 1st accused, Jibril Dawa, 2nd accused, 3rd accused, Omar Jai, 4th accused, and Fabakar Jawara, the 5th accused. When the case was called, the accused persons in the amendment bill are Sanafadera, the 1st accused, Jibril Dawa, 2nd accused, Ibrahim Asano, 3rd accused, Omar Jai, the 4th, the 5th accused entered the dock. Lawyers L and and Simendi are now representing the first accused, Fadera, and the fifth accused person, Fabari Jawara. Counsel Y. Dabo and A. Jai for the second accused, Jibril Dabo, and J. Jubate for Ibrahim Asano, the third accused person. However, the fourth accused person, Oman Jai, has no legal representation. When the court asked for his representation, the fourth accused, Oman Jai, said he does not have a lawyer at the moment and that he will find legal representation. Justice Mahoney then said he cannot continue the proceedings without the fourth accused, Oman Jai, not being represented by a lawyer. Justice Mahoney then decided to adjourn the case to February 2, 2023 for plea taking and hearing, and as well for Oman Jai to find a lawyer before the said adjournment date. With facts from the courts, all the civilians involved in the case are being freed. Now 5 stays and the rest were discharged. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
And from the report by Mariama Cham, on to our next story now. Because Nigeria's government plans to increase its financial support to the family planning program in the country with a view to control the country's rapid population growth. Nigeria is Africa's most populous country, and it could become the world's third most populous nation, behind India and China, by 2050 if the current reproduction rate continues. However, authorities of the West African nation said they are now working with the WHO to spread sex and reproductive education among the citizenry. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Loveth Williams is a school teacher and a mother of 6 children. She and her husband can afford the education of their school-age children. Decided they have enough mouths to feed, so Williams was taking a birth control injection.
We've put an end to childbearing to enable us to give the 6 children we have attention. Things are really tough in the country, the economy especially. We are also impressed at the government's commitment to strengthen family planning, because many women just keep giving birth without planning for them.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, only 4 out of 10 women in Nigeria are currently using contraception. Most here are injectable and are available at pharmacies and health facilities. UNICEF estimates that at least 15.7 million sexually active women who want to avoid pregnancy do not use safe mode of contraception.
It could be due to ignorance or literacy. Then it could be due to low socioeconomic status of individuals or families. Not all families don't know about it. Not all don't want to adhere. But as I said earlier, some have this religious belief that has restricted them from imbibing or from using those cultures. To them, they see them as borrowed cultures.
With around 217 million people, Nigeria is Africa's most populous country. That's expected to double by 2050 at the current rate of reproduction. It will make Nigeria the 3rd most populous nation in the world after India and China. The huge numbers make it hard for children to be cared for and educated, especially in poorer families. Medical practitioners say increased financing for family planning and contraceptive use would lead to a lower birth rate, reduced crime, and better allocation of government funds across different spheres of the economy. The government will allocate $4 million annually for family planning, up from an initial $3 million it usually budgets for it. It says it is working closely with the World Health Organization to provide wider access to sex education and reproductive health services in communities. But experts say that may not be enough. They argue that without campaigns, health training, and proper legislation, Nigeria's population will continue to grow unsustainably.
And that report from Nigeria now eventually brings us to the end of this news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and do have a pleasant evening. Bye for now.